Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. William Bruce Cameron. We all know the feeling, that gentle warmth when we donate to a charitable cause. It feels righteous, even noble, like we've aligned ourselves with something larger than ourselves. But is it truly generosity we're practicing, or is it something else? There's a subtle difference between giving to a stranger through a donation portal and reaching out to a friend in need. One is immediate, relational, and seen. The other often floats into abstraction, dissolving into a system we seldom question, yet use to affirm our sense of moral goodness. The modern charitable act, for many, seems less about direct impact and more about symbolic virtue. We throw coins into a digital well and feel absolved. But beneath the comfort of generosity lies an uncomfortable truth. Giving, as noble as it may seem, often carries an undercurrent of vanity. This doesn't mean all generosity is selfish, far from it, but it does suggest that our motives are layered. We may do well to pause and ask, why am I giving? And perhaps more critically, is my giving doing what I think it is? These questions aren't new, but a growing intellectual and philosophical movement has placed them under a powerful microscope. That movement is effective altruism, a hybrid of moral philosophy and statistical analysis aimed at maximizing the impact of altruistic behavior. It asks us not just to give, but to give better. Proponents of effective altruism, EA, believe in a kind of moral investment strategy. Think of your money as capital. If used well, it can yield the highest return, not in profits, but in lives saved or suffering reduced. The Oxford philosopher William MacAskill, a central figure in the EA movement, compares charitable giving to investing. His argument is sharp. We vet companies before investing in them, yet casually donate to charities without due diligence. Why? His concern is clear. Many charitable organizations fail to produce tangible, measurable impact. In such cases, giving may be more about the giver's conscience than the recipient's needs. That's why EA focuses on opportunity cost. Every dollar given to a local art museum is a dollar not spent distributing life-saving malaria nets in sub-Saharan Africa. From this perspective, donating to the arts or culture is morally suspect when compared to saving lives. This utilitarian calculus has gained momentum, especially among wealthy individuals from the tech and finance sectors. Platforms like GiveWell and Charity Navigator reflect this mindset, ranking charities based on metrics, impact evaluations, and cost effectiveness. EA has become, in many ways, the Silicon Valley of philanthropy, data-driven, efficient, and often unyielding in its logic. But here's where the cracks begin to show. Is a data-first approach always the wisest path? Economist Tyler Cowen thinks not. In a conversation with MacAskill, Cowen challenged EA's reduction of value to numbers. Culture, he argued, is the foundation upon which societies evolve. Art, music, theater, and museums may not save lives directly, but they nourish the soul of civilization. They shape the values, empathy, and understanding that ultimately guide our moral compass, and those can't be charted on a spreadsheet. MacAskill, to his credit, has softened his stance on culture, but the EA mindset remains tightly bound to quantification. This has led many to worry, not just in the arts world, but across sectors, that EA's obsession with measurable outcomes may flatten the complexity of real-world giving. There's a broader issue at play: the cult of optimization. In our age, we quantify everything: calories, steps, sleep cycles, social media engagement. We strap gadgets to our bodies to monitor performance as though we're machines running diagnostics, and increasingly we apply this optimization logic to our morality. But when everything becomes a matter of metrics, we risk losing sight of the intangible, the spiritual, emotional, and cultural dimensions of life that resist neat measurement. This worldview treats people like data points, reducing ethics to algorithms. And in doing so, it mirrors a mechanistic view of existence where even consciousness is likened to computer code. Effective altruism's opportunity cost model becomes problematic in this context. It pushes philanthropists away from causes that defy measurement: artistic expression, cultural preservation, advocacy, religious outreach, or environmental justice movements. These realms may not show short-term ROI, but they are vital to the long arc of human progress. The problem deepens when we examine the logic of effectiveness itself. How do we truly measure long-term benefit? A school built today may transform a community over decades, but the full effects might never be captured in a chart. A powerful theater production may awaken moral clarity in an audience member who later becomes a reformer. You can't predict or quantify such impact, but does that make it any less real? Moreover, cultural and moral values are not universal. What counts as suffering, well-being, or ethical responsibility varies by context. EA's metrics-driven approach tends to universalize its priorities, sidestepping questions about why the Global South needs aid in the first place. Famines, for instance, are not just natural disasters. They're almost always caused by political conflict. Delivering food addresses symptoms, not causes. Take the example of HIV/AIDS. The epidemic was worsened by cultural taboos and silence around sexuality. The moral panic and stigma fueled by media, religion, and policy had a devastating effect. Activists like Douglas Crimp argued that it was the cultural representation of AIDS that shaped public response. Art, journalism, and protest played a crucial role in turning the tide. EA's spreadsheet wouldn't capture that. And now, the irony of EA's meteoric rise is playing out in real time. Sam Bankman-Fried, a major EA proponent and crypto billionaire, saw his empire collapse amid scandal and fraud. Billions pledged to effective causes have vanished. It's a stark reminder that good intentions, when yoked to poor ethics, don't add up to much. The foundation must be solid, not just strategic. This brings us to the final point. The problem is not reason itself, but instrumental reason. The use of rationality to achieve outcomes without questioning the worth of those outcomes. Effective altruism relies heavily on this logic, but wisdom, the kind that shapes cultures and civilizations, is more than efficiency. It's the ability to hold nuance, embrace mystery, and see beyond what can be measured. Ethics is not a science. It is a human story, written through religion, politics, culture, and community. Metrics can serve that story, but they should never define it. The question is not just how to give effectively, but what kind of world do we want our giving to create? Gil Scott-Heron once asked, "What's the point of putting Whitey on the moon?" highlighting the disconnect between scientific progress and social justice. In the same spirit, we must ask, what's the point of saving lives if we're not also enriching the meaning of life? Effective altruism has asked the right questions, but it may be looking for answers in the wrong places. In the end, our giving should not only be calculated, it should be conscious.